Hey, this is Darien Cruz. Welcome to your buyer presentation. If you're watching this video, you're most likely considering purchasing land or residential property. If you're working directly through the Cruz Group in North Carolina, this is perfect for you. If you're in another state, there may be some differences in terms of terminology, a bit of the process, but the basic principles will probably be pretty similar. So I think you'll still find this really informative. To start off, let's go ahead and dig right into the buyer presentation. And as you see here, we are taking a look at our buyer consultation form. Let's start right here on the first page. This gives you a little bit of history about the Cruz Group, as well as Choice Residential. In North Carolina, for our residential business, that's the brokerage that we're affiliated with. Our broker in charge, Brian Forgan, had a background with another company for years, Keller Williams, before starting Choice Residential. And it's one of the largest brokerages here in the Triangle. We'll talk a little bit later about why that may benefit some of our clients. The next section is about me. Honestly, if we're already talking, you may already know a little bit about me. My background is in marketing, business management, relationship development. So with that, I do apply a lot of those principles and concepts to my clients and how I run my real estate business, as well as my team. One of the things that I'm really focused on is building the right experience for my clients. I want you to enjoy this process. This is one of the biggest purchases and biggest decisions that you can make in terms of finance in your life, honestly. So we want to make sure that we're really with you the whole way through the process, making sure it's as smooth as possible. And we do that by really stepping up our level of coordination with our partners, including attorneys and transaction coordination teams, to make sure that you have as little stress during this as possible, although in general, it can be a very stressful process. The rest of this information is just my bio. We're not going to read all of that. Just trust me. It just says I'm great. You'll love it. The next part here that we're going to dig into a bit is how we start your search. So I'll be talking to you, figuring out exactly what you're prioritizing, what it is that you're looking for. And we can put together custom searches for you. If there's a home that comes on the market that fits the criteria that we're looking in, you'll get alerts. Some of that will be directly through the multiple listing service. You'll receive email alerts. You can let us know what frequency you'd like to get those in. And we can make sure we're identifying the right properties, scheduling showings, and ideally walking you through the process of how we put an offer in. Once we're under contract, if your offer gets accepted, what it looks like to have inspections, appraisals, negotiations, until we bring you all the way to the point of closing when you actually purchase the home and complete the purchase. We'll send you links to our website. You'll be able to set up an account there. I'll be alerted when you're seeing homes that are matching with your search criteria. That's separate from the MLS as well. It'll also dig into different multiple listing services here in our area. We do live on the border of a few different ones. So it's great to use our site directly or some of our affiliate sites that we work with, just so you don't miss out on any properties. One of the benefits also of dealing with a brokerage like Choice is the fact that we do have such a large agent roster, over 300 agents just here in the Triangle area. So when occasionally there are homes that are perhaps off-market listings or office exclusives that fit your criteria, there is a better chance of us being able to match you up with those as well. And those might be homes that you may not have access to otherwise. So that is the benefit as well. Financing. This probably honestly should be step one, although it says step two here. This is one of the first things that we want to do. We're going to team you up with some of our great mortgage loan officers. There are so many that are really so highly qualified and provide a high level of service here in the area. We're happy to make some introductions there. If you have a bank that you're used to working with, someone that you're comfortable with working with, that you've worked with in the past, more than welcome to use them. We don't have a particular interest in who it is that you use. We just want you to use someone that's reputable. And if we need some recommendations for that, we can absolutely help. What they're going to do is go through your finance, go through your credit history, pre-qualify you based on that to let you know more or less what price range you can realistically be looking into purchase. And it's great to do that. It helps us avoid any disappointment in terms of undershooting what your potential budget is or overshooting. If we can really dial it in properly, we can make the most effective use of your time to make sure we're finding the right properties for you. And if you see one that you like, we know that you can go ahead and pull the trigger and make that offer, because that offer will be backed by a pre-approval letter from a financial lending institution saying that, yes, this person qualified. This is a real offer that can be backed. That's important. If you're looking at making a cash purchase, generally all we need is proof of funds, and we can submit that with your offer as well. And that also just shows that you're submitting a valid offer. So what does it look like when you're buying a house? There's a few things, and some of this is specific to the North Carolina market. A few bits of terminology that you probably want to keep in mind. There are two deposits that are very common when you're making an offer on a home. So clearly, offer price is usually the biggest driving factor, the actual amount that you're offering to purchase the home for. Then there are two others that are common in North Carolina: due diligence and earnest money. There's no set percentage, there's no set amount of what this has to be. We keep track of what's happening in the market in different areas. We'll provide you some guidance on what we think is competitive, depending on the home that you're offering on. But due diligence, for example, what is due diligence? It serves a few purposes. It really avoids the problem of buyers submitting offers when they're not really serious about purchasing a home, because that deposit or fee goes directly to the sellers. It is a non-refundable deposit. What you're purchasing is access to the home for a negotiated amount of time. It may be a few weeks, during which you can have home inspections done, have your appraisal done. You're doing your due diligence on this home. If we find issues that could be material facts or of major importance to you on your decision of whether or not to buy this home, it may open the door for future negotiations during that period of time as well. We may have to go back and renegotiate some repairs, for example, possibly credits, depending on the situation. You've also purchased an option to not buy the home. In other words, during that due diligence period of time, you could decide this is just not the right home for you based on the inspections or based on no reason at all. And if you decide you want to cancel that contract during that period of time, you do forfeit the due diligence deposit, but you're not going to be in breach of contract. It's built into the contract. Earnest money is a little bit different. Earnest money, in some states, is referred to as good faith money. That gets held by the closing attorney in their escrow account. They'll keep that to the side. If after the due diligence period, let's say, for example, the day of closing, something terrible happens, maybe someone loses employment or just decides they're not going to go through with the purchase of that home, at that point, they could lose both deposits. If you had decided to cancel during the due diligence period, you would have been compliant with the contract. You would have lost your due diligence money, but that earnest money would be refunded back to you. So it really leaves a little bit of skin in the game just to make sure that everyone's serious through the entire process and we all have an interest in getting this transaction done. Under contract essentially just means that your contract, your offer has been accepted. All parties have signed. Then we go right into that due diligence period of time that we're working with. Some of the typical home inspections that you may see or things that you may have done during the due diligence period are your general home inspection. If there are some items that come up during that are flagged, needing specialists, maybe an HVAC inspection, a roof inspection, even an engineer letter, if there's some issues with foundation or structural issues, that can happen during that period of time. Pest inspections are quite common, checking for termites, carpentry bees, etc. Radon inspections. Radon's a noxious gas, and it's good to check for that. It does have some concerns. It is common in the area, so there's a certain level that the EPA says that needs to stay under. So we will often have it checked for that as well. If it is higher, there are remediation tactics that can be used to address that. Land surveys are also common, just confirming where the borders of the property are, making sure there's no encroachments, someone's fence isn't crossing over the border of the territory, for example, and your appraisals, which are normally bank ordered and required if you have a mortgage. In terms of closing costs or things to expect, there could be additional fees, bank fees, loan origination fees. They'll look at your insurance as well as taxes or HOA fees, and generally those are prorated depending on the day of the year that you're closing on. So you'll pay essentially for the days that you will own the home that year. There may also be seller credits if we negotiate that in the contract that'll come to you, and your deposits. If you purchase the home, that due diligence deposit and earnest money are going to be credited back to you at the time of closing as long as you complete your end of the contract. Here we are with just further definitions of the terms that we just went over. You can review those later as well. Once we get past that point and we've gone through due diligence, the bank has done all of their underwriting. They've said, yes, we're ready to close. You are clear to close. The next step is essentially the closing date. That's when we go to the attorney's office, or if you're out of state or out of the area, it can also be done remotely. And that's when you sign the documents. The money gets transferred from the mortgage or from your own personal accounts over to the attorney. That deed gets recorded with the county. That's what makes you officially the owner of that home. Money is dispersed as it needs to be, and you will receive the keys, and you're in your new home. That is basically the process. We're there to walk you through it the whole way and here to support you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Hopefully this was helpful. And any other future questions, let me know, and we'll set up a Zoom call. We'll set up a meeting in person, and we're happy to answer those and make sure that you have all the information that you need to have a successful home purchasing process. Thank you from the Cruz Group. We look forward to helping you.